What's going on, guys? It's Groove back again with another one from the Fiat standard. Now, if you don't understand what Fiat is, it's this current money system that we live under right now. The dollars are not backed by anything except themselves. So this changes the way all society is ran. Everything from food to education, just the way we live life today in society. Nobody wants to have a family anymore. Nobody wants to have kids anymore. Everybody's struggling, what it does to people's mental health. And so this is what this book goes over and covers. But in today's video, we're going to be going over how it messes with the education system. And again, if you haven't hit that like and subscribe already, go ahead and do so. Or at least hit me with a like, come on, you can at least do that. So he starts out by saying that education no longer needs to meet the aspirations of the students or help them succeed in life. Instead, education in government-run, government-subsidized schools needs only meet the politicians' goals of that source of fiat. Even today, it's 2025, and a lot of people are like, oh man, I can't wait to go to school, I can't wait to go to college. They don't care about you. They don't care about giving you a fake degree that there's no good job's going to be at the end of that degree. The only thing they need you to do is just funnel people into this school system so they can rack up student loan debt, so that way you owe them. You owe the schools, you owe the governments. They're not there for your success. They're not there to help you get a good job after you've graduated. And I just watched a video recently too of this guy, and he talked about how he was doing drop shipping, his pathway to drop shipping and e-commerce. And he said when he was in high school, his high school made all the students apply to a college before they were able to let the high school kids graduate. And the first thing that came to my mind is they're literally funneling kids to the college system because they know that so many kids are not trying to go to college anymore because they know that it's starting to become useless. And so in order for them to graduate from high school, they are making them get accepted to a university before they give them that high school diploma, which is crazy to me. It's like they're trying to funnel the kids to college, which kind of doesn't really do too much today, at least for the whole part. Of course, there's always going to be those STEM degrees, science, technology, engineering, and math, or if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, those type of degrees you're still going to need. But for the majority that people are just going for a random liberal arts degree, again, these kids don't understand. There's this backroom deal behind high schools, or at least that kid's high school, that, hey, we're going to try to funnel these kids up to university. That's crazy to think about. It's like, hey, you have to get accepted into a university before we're going to let you graduate from high school. Again, he further goes in, he says, it's fair to say that now Fiat has successfully destroyed the modern university at its center of learning and research, transforming a once noble institution into make-work welfare programs for nerds, a highly overpriced centralized mill, an inescapable debt trap, a country club experience, a politician indoctrination camp, and a corporate advertising agency. Again, colleges today, they're not really about learning. It's about indoctrinating kids and giving them as much debt as they can. And it's crazy how many kids come out of college and they're like, hey, I got my degree in marketing and I can't get a job. And it's like, how come your student advisor didn't tell you, hey, you might not want to go into this career field because there's no jobs on the outside of it, because they're in the system too. They get paid to just keep you funneled in, and they're not going to tell you, the best thing that you can do to become successful in life. It's just all about the dollar. How many kids can we get into this university so we can secure money? Success for a university is no longer primarily based on meeting the students' demand to learn productive skills, but instead on satisfying the wishes of the bureaucrats who finance the university. And even when it comes to the top universities, like the Harvard, the Princeton, the Yale, all of these universities, it's not even about the degree. It's about having that stamp of approval on your certificate, wherever you're going. I graduated from Harvard. I graduated from Princeton. It's about having that title more than the degree itself. He mentions it right here as well. Universities increasingly resemble country clubs where students borrow money to live like aristocrats, doing little work while partying, socializing, and enjoying themselves. Student loan debt accumulated in university country clubs cannot be discharged. The students will spend the rest of their lives paying for the fun they had while they could have been learning. And that's another crazy thing that I've started to realize lately as well. It's like everybody is a slave at all levels. If you don't figure out this money system, if you don't figure out the money game, you're going to be a slave at all levels, whether you're working at Walmart or whether you're a doctor or a lawyer. Because you think about it, you're like, well, how is that the same thing? Somebody who works at Walmart or some very low paying job, they're going to work until they die. But then you look at the doctors and the lawyers and you're like, okay, well, they make a lot of money, but they're going to be working, paying that student loan debt off until they die. So it's like, they're not really free either. The role of governments and universities increased drastically in the United States in the 1930s after the Great Depression. Governments had nothing to do with school, universities. It was just supposed to be a place of higher learning, and it's not that anymore. Every kid that walks through a university today, all they look at you as is a dollar sign. These people are going to have to just owe us forever, and we're just going to allow them to take whatever silly classes and get whatever silly degree they want to get. Now, I'm not personally saying that college is bad, but you got to have a plan. You got to go there and be like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going for. I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to get some type of science or engineering or mathematics degree. But if you're just going there and you're just like, oh, I'll figure it out when I get there, I don't advise that at all. He says, today, what passes for humanities in the modern university has disintegrated into an endless sea of angry grievances and rabid victimology. And I've seen a few videos about that myself, where you'll have relatively like upper middle class people, they'll send their kids to college, and then the kids will come back with these crazy ideologies, hating their parents, being like, oh, well, you're rich. And it's like, wait a minute, hold up. You know, I busted my butt so I can give you a better life, so I can send you to this university. And all it does is it makes you hate your family on the other side of it. It's like, yo, these universities are really indoctrination camps today. It's crazy. How did we even get to this point? And so he says we have to look at the root of the problem. And so all of these universities, when it comes to getting their studies published, they need government funding. And so they will do whatever the government wants them to do. They will produce whatever the government wants them so they can keep getting this money, so they can keep getting funded from the government. So they'll push whatever the government wants them to push. So he said academics' career prospects became increasingly tied to the publication in academic journals, to the point where teaching skills are an afterthought for hiring decisions. Students the world over complain about professors who are unable and unwilling to put efforts into teaching. But most universities do not and cannot care about this, because the students are not the customers. They are seeking to please as long as governments grant money and subsidies, student loans continue. Again, these universities are here to please the governments now, the people who are given the money. It's not the students. As long as the university funding is tied to publication in supposedly prestigious, accredited, and ranked journals, these journals can exploit the labor of professors who need them to secure their livelihoods. Again, whoever's giving them this grant, whoever's giving them the money, aka the government, they're going to do and say whatever they want them to say. When people are like, just trust the science, it's like, maybe we shouldn't just do that. These people, in order to secure funding, they're going to say whatever they need to say. He says, today, rather than scholars being involved in the real world where their knowledge is applied, today's scholars are isolated in ivory towers, working on increasingly obscure and irrelevant minutiae things. When you understand how academic publications operate, you start to read them in a different light. Rather than a place for the smartest minds to engage in discourse, you start to see that these academic publications are primarily aimed at helping the author. Again, because it's all about getting that money, getting that grant money. It's not about education and knowledge and learning today. He says when it comes to academia and science, science relies on the demonstrable experimentation precisely because it relies on the word of nobody. Under the Fiat standard, science has instead become a set worldview with pre-described statements and commandments. These experiments are turned into ritual exercises carried out behind closed doors, whose results are to be believed by relying on the authorization and experimentors and the bodies that regulate them. Rather than a process of science, it has become an ideology or religion. So that's pretty much it for this video when it comes to fiat and what it does to school and education and science. What do you guys think? Have you noticed this? Have you noticed the difference in the science? Do you guys trust the science? Do you guys trust higher education? Have you noticed that higher education really doesn't focus on education anymore? And it's more just about ideologies and just trying to get as many people into college as they can so they can accrue student loan debt? You know, I'm not going to sit here and write college completely off, but if you're not going for a specific degree, like, you know, a lawyer or a doctor or some type of STEM, I kind of feel like it is pointless. And I feel like there's a lot of I feel likes, but if you're just going to college just to get an experience, you're just going to end up in a bunch of student loan debt and it's not going to set you up for success. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments and I'll catch you guys in that next one. Peace.